Well, that was an unexpected reaction. Hey, everybody, welcome to After Action Report, your numbers recap show for all Shimoda matches to keep you caught up on all the action. I am your host, Megs, here for the Call to Action podcast channel. Today, we're going to be breaking down the third episode of Friday Night Titans. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. The episode opens up with Janish playing man on the street, looking to catch up with Gucci and the Barbarian. He finds Gucci and Barbarian trying to sell a sock with Gucci's face on it to some unsuspecting person for $300, with Barbarian acting as his muscle. Frank Janish catches up with them, and Barbarian ends up calling his shot against Sam and is very confident in his ability to take down the legend. We see the show introduced by Mark Ellis and Ken Knapsack, but their introduction is cut short when JTE crashes the show intro with the Paul Preston and Adam Witt as they introduce the team, The Movement, and they challenge the Harris brothers. The Harris brothers come in and they accept the challenge, with Lon being neither the professor or the delinquent, with seemingly no remembrance of his history with JTE besides their time together on Screen Junkies. Coming out of round one, The Movement is up by 18-17, with JTE, Preston, and Lon all three getting 9 points, and Jonathan coming away with 8 points. Moving into round two, The Movement defers to have the Harris brothers spin first. They spin away from the Rocky franchise and ends up taking the wild card, which turns out to be the surprise category, Alien Invasion Films. The Harris brothers are able to sweep that category for the full 10 points. Moving into the Movement spin, they spin away from David Lynch and end up taking Tom Hanks. They come away with 8 out of 10 available points, checking down to multiple choice twice, but not giving away any steal opportunities. The Harris brothers have now gained 2 points to now be up by 1 on The Movement, 27-26. In round 3, we see Preston hits their 2-pointer in sequels and prequels. That bounces it over to Lon, who also hits a 2-pointer in DC. Back over to The Movement, where JTE hits a 3-pointer in Matt and Ben, but Jonathan misses his 3-pointer in Denzel Washington, forcing the Harris brothers to have to answer a 5-pointer in The Scots, which they do, and it bounces it back over to The Movement for their 5-pointer in Morgan Freeman, which they do hit, and that gives The Movement the win with a final score of 36-34, where The Movement answered 26 of 28 questions for 93% accuracy and scored 86% of 42 available points. The Harris brothers answered 24 of 28 questions for 86% accuracy and scored 81% of 42 available points. So I've really been loving all these new combination of teams so far, with the ruling class and plot twist last week to now this week. We have The Movement with Paul Preston finally being able to get that first win in the teams division. And we also see the return of the Harris brothers, who just missed out on the win here by a difference of only 2 points. They now sit at a 2-3 record. Remember, they started here in the league back in 2018 during the Anarchy tournament, when Lon Harris and JTE were a partner and team. But when JTE was injured, Jonathan was able to come in and sub in to be Lon's new partner, and they were able to get to the finals of the Anarchy tournament back in 2018. Now, they were KO'd by Who's the Boss, and they also had a loss to Critically Acclaim in 2019. We have not seen them since then, but they are a lot of fun to watch, and Lon has seemingly gone through yet another change in his persona. We see Sam make his way into the studio and gets jumped by Frank Janish, who is asking how he is feeling coming into this first match back in 4 years. Sam wants to prove that he can still do this and has the right to be here. When asked how he got that number one contender shot, he merely replies, "The chairman and I have an understanding." Now, we know from the beginning of the season that this deal of the whole number one contender shot was Christian having an agreement with Sam to disband the Schmominati and to give Christian the contracts for both Grace Hancock and Jay Washington. In exchange, Sam was going to get a number one contender shot. Coming into our main event in round one, we see that Sam Levine is up by 2, 11-9, with Sam being able to get that perfect round plus the bonus. In round two, Sam defers to have the Barbarian go first, and he spins away from the 1960s and ends up taking Disney. He goes 7 out of 10 available points in that round. He checks down to multiple choice twice, misses one question there in multiple choice, and does have it stolen by Sam for a 1-point steal. Sam decides to take John Hughes on his first spin. He comes away with 9 out of 10 available points, checks down to multiple choice once, but does not give away any steal opportunities. This now gives Sam a gain of 3 points to now be up by 5, 21-16, going into the final round, where we see Barbarian hits a 2-pointer in the 1950s and a 3-pointer in Denzel Washington that now ties the game at 21 and bounces it back over to Sam, who hits his 2-pointer in Comedy, goes back over to Barbarian, who hits his 5-pointer in Ramus and the Reitmans. Sam then has to hit a 3-pointer in Sequels and Prequels, ties up the game again, and ends up hitting his 5-pointer in the 1990s for the win and a final score of 31-26, where the Barbarian answered 16 of 18 questions for 89% accuracy and scored 84% of 31 available points. Sam Levine answered 20 of 20 questions for 100% accuracy and scored 97% of 32 available points. Now, with this win, this does give Sam Levine 8 straight singles matches in a row victories. Now, after taking 4 years off since he retired with both the singles and the team's belts, he now has a total of 12 victories since October of 2017 to now, with 14 victories and only 1 team defeat, and that was to the Patriots back in Season 4's Spectacular. We open up our final scene with Shannon and Marisol talking about the plans for Corruption moving into the next season. Shannon says that it was always her plan to have Adam come back to Corruption and that she was just keeping Adam on his toes. Now, given what we had already heard from Shannon earlier in the year, where did you think this was going? Would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Now, Marisol tells Shannon that they have to talk about Adam first, and that cues Adam to come in. Shannon instantly goes to him, apologizes for keeping him on his toes, saying that she has a spot for him on Corruption. But he says that he has had to look out for himself and has talked to someone else. Enter in Winston Marshall, who is planning on taking Adam away from Shannon and Corruption. At this point, we see Shannon break down and uncharacteristically gets very emotional, and there is emotional goodbyes from Adam, Marisol, Shannon, and we see the scene end with the Queen removing her crown in tears. So far early in the season, we have now seen the return of some former competitors in new teams, as well as former teams that we haven't seen for a few years. And notably, we now see the return of a former legend who seems to be picking up right back up where he started. And a surprising twist with Adam choosing to leave Corruption. And this once hard and ruthless Shannon brought down low and to tears. That's going to do it for this week's episode, but don't worry, I'm going to be back next week breaking down all the action for next week's Friday Night Titans event. And this next week is going to be a pay-per-view event where we are going to see the title match being Sam Levine facing off against Marisol McKee for the title. That's the main event. The undercard, as it's been announced right now, is going to be Cobra the Chance Ellison facing off against William Bibiani. So those are going to be 2 really exciting matches, and who knows what else we're going to be seeing. It is anyone's guess what all we will see on any given Friday night. But before we leave, please go ahead and make sure that you have hit that like button, you're subscribed to this channel, that you are getting notified every time we drop new videos on this channel. We're starting to do reactions on this channel as well, so please make sure you're checking out that, all the other videos we have here on this channel, as well as over on Twitch. Be sure you're also leaving comments, not only here on this video, but if you want to contact me, you can also contact me via these socials that are listed down in the description of this video. All the graphics that I presented here for the matches will be posted to socials, so be on the lookout for that. But until next time, for the entire Call to Action podcast crew, I'm your host, Megs, and this is After Action Report, signing off.